Stepping into the director's chair for the first time, feeling overwhelmed by licensing, staffing, budgets, and oh, yeah, actually leading a team? Well, you're not alone. And in this episode, we are here to save your sanity. Join us as we sit down with Latisha Corley, a childcare consultant, leader, trainer, no nonsense mentor to directors. She's going to walk us through what not to do in your first year, the most common mistakes directors make, and the mindset shifts that you need to crush your new role. Whether you're already in the seat or just warming up, this episode is packed with encouragement, honesty, and real world tips to help you go from flustered to focused. If you ever needed help, we're here to help you do that. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Latisha Corley, but my parents and students call me Miss Tish. I am a childcare co-owner of Prepping for Excellence Academy, which is a licensed and quality rated childcare center located in Austell, Georgia. I also am a new author of a book, which is actually a guide called Surviving Your First Year as a Childcare Boss. So it really just kind of goes into how you're going to be successful as a director or owner in the childcare field. And then I also am just an educator. So even though I'm a childcare owner, I also teach life skills training with the Cobb County Juvenile Justice System for high schoolers. So when I say I'm a lifelong learner, I have my master's degree, my CBA, I'm thinking about going back to get my PhD. Just never know.
Nice. No, you never know. And I think that's pretty accurate. Most teachers, we know that it's lifelong learning. So
Exactly.
yeah, so let's be honest, like that first year as a childcare director can have you feel like you're drinking from the water hose, right? Managing the staff drama, trying to decipher licensing regulations, can have you feel like you're barely holding it together, I know. But the truth is you really can't lead with confidence. You just sometimes need someone to kind of point you in that direction. So what was your first year like as a director, and what do you wish you knew?
First year, it's a roller coaster, right? I think no one can prepare you. That first day you're super excited and nervous. You have mixed emotions. And then when the kids start showing up, you're like, wow, this is really happening. And so for me, it was a roller coaster. Like one minute the teachers love you, the next minute they hate you. One day the parents are bringing you breakfast, and then the next day they're cussing me out, wanting to fight me because they don't like me saying no. And so I really think that my biggest surprise that first year was when I got the audit from the health department, for immunizations. I got that email and that letter in the mail, and I'm like, what do I need to send them something for, the health department? And I literally called like, hey, I'm a child care center. They're like, yeah, you have to go ahead and send over immunizations for every student that you have. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that was one of the things I didn't know that I wish someone told me. But I did pretty well, Luckily, I read, that right from the start handbook. So I really knew what to expect, but I was just kind of taken back a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, well, two things. My experience when I first started, I didn't start as a director. I started as just like a teacher. And the girls had been there a long time. They were mean. They were really mean. I think because when you're a go-getter, right? And then there are people who maybe aren't that. They're like, oh, she's a brown noser. She's a this, that. I'm like, they're mean. I cried for 2 weeks, my first week. My first 2 weeks I cried, and I'm not really a baby, but yeah, they were not nice. So that might happen, right? Especially if you're really excited about the role and you're walking into an established center and then who she thinks she is, all of that. That was my experience. And the regulation book really was my friend. I had a highlighter. I highlighted like almost every page. Okay, I need to know this. I need to know this. A lot of it was self-taught, but knowing your regulations, I would say, is probably tip number one, because that's really gonna clear the weeds and give you some clarity of what you need to do. Yeah.
I would definitely say you have to know the policies and procedures for your state, the regulations, and not even just like for the state, but even like zoning, fire marshals,
Mm,
because you have those annual visits, that they're going to just pop in and
mhm.
you have to make sure that, you're compliant.
Yeah.
So I think that's the awesome point.
Um, what are the biggest mistakes that you see new directors make in their first 6 to 12 months?
Wow, I think not asking for help. I feel like when you get promoted to that role, or even if you're new stepping into that role, you kind of feel like, okay, you have something to prove a little bit. And so I think it's okay to ask for help. And so one of those things where it's okay if you don't know the answer. And like you said, pull out that handbook. And even if you still don't understand, I'm a person, I'm going to call the state. Hey, I don't understand this, or I'm going to send an email because I want to know the right answer. I just don't want to get an answer from someone who, oh, well, this works for me. No, I want to know the right answer so I can make sure, again, that I'm compliant and that my business is going to be successful. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes is not asking for help, being too proud. Um, that's the biggest one because it takes a village, and sometimes some people will gatehold information, but it's also a lot of us, like yourself,
Mhm.
having this podcast, opening up the door for other early childhood
Mm.
educators to be able to really kind of express their experience. Is really awesome.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest mistakes I think I see folks do is because you're excited, you want to go and you want to change everything, right?
Hmm.
We're going to do it this way now. We're going to do it that way now, which can be really
Yeah.
overwhelming for your team. And honestly, once you
Hmm.
start changing everything, will be overwhelming for you too. So I think
Right.
that look before you change anything, take a look at what's working and what isn't. What's working,
Yeah.
keep building on that. Make a mental
Hmm.
note of what's not working, and then start to go, all right, of these things, where am I going to
Hmm.
stop? What one thing am I going to fix that's probably a
Right.
priority? It's safety or whatever. Um,
Exactly.
but don't try to rip the whole program apart because one, you're not going to make any friends. You're not going to get buy-in, and you need to get
Hmm.
buy-in, and that's not the best way to lead your team. So, really focus on those strengths. See who your
Yeah.
A and your B players are. Um,
Hmm.
Invest into them because the other thing that we tend to do is give all of our time and energy to the C and D folks, and
Yep.
she dropped her head. She's like, "Yeah, that's chapter 5."
Yeah.
But make
Yes.
sure that you're taking care of your A and B folks because they're the ones who are really,
Sure.
yeah, they're the ones that are taking care of what needs to be taken care of, and you got to make sure you don't burn them out because those C and D players will suck the energy right out of them, and then you're going to be left with just C's and D's. So make sure that you really take care of your A players. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So, what's the first thing a brand new director should stop doing?
Trying to please everyone. That's something
Mm,
I had to learn. You're trying to please the teachers, the parents, but at the end of the day, your top priority is the success of that child care center. So that always should be number one. And
mm,
so when you stop and focus on what that looks like, rather that's in reference to the systems, rather it's in reference to, excuse me, tuition, the actual environment, you just have to make sure that, like you said, you have to set the tone that first day.
yeah.
And so, really having a goal in mind and knowing exactly what that goal is. And then again, you have to have, okay, how am I going to go from A to B? So that's really the biggest thing for me is stop trying to make everyone happy because at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to make everyone happy. Someone's always going to want more pay. Someone's always going to want to get, a late fee waived. You have to stick to your systems. So that's one of the biggest things I would say because for me, that was hard. Me and my business partner, because most of our parents were people that we knew,
Hmm.
prior. And so when you kind of have that friendship and having to separate the business from the personal, that's when it gets personal.
Mm,
And then they don't like that. And so when you have those systems in place where it's successful and you set that tone on day one and say, hey, this is how we're operating. they already know what to expect, you know, so they're kind of not like sideballed and like, well, where did this come from? No, you knew day one. And then, you know, make sure that they acknowledge it. You know, I have a parent acknowledgement handbook that our parents have to sign off on twice a year, or when any corrections are made, to say, hey, you read this, you understand it. If you have any questions, let me know. And then I keep it in their child's file.
Yeah. How do you I agree with that. I think, yeah, you're not
Yeah.
gonna please everybody for sure. I
Hmm.
think maybe the other thing to stop doing is stop comparing yourself to the old director, either in a positive or negative way, right? Because some
Yeah.
folks probably really like that director who left, and some folks
Yeah.
might not have. So
Hmm.
I would say stop comparing yourself or saying positive or negative remarks about current
Yeah.
or past leadership. I think that
Yeah.
that's really important that you stop doing that. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, I think too, like, how do you find that balance between being the leader while still building trust with your team?
Yeah. Honestly, it's easy for me because I am there in the day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
operations. So it's never nothing that I'm going to ask my staff or teachers to do that they don't see me doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to be a substitute when teachers are out. I'm in the classroom. I also have to cook. You know, I also am not too proud to clean the bathrooms and mop the floor, you know. So I think it's easy for me because I'm there in those day-to-day operations. And I think for my staff and teachers, they understand that I have an open door policy. And so if they have any concerns, please come and voice them, because I love my teachers and my staff.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to keep them happy because I have really good people that have been with us for a while. So it's a blessing. And so anytime they're not happy, I want to try to figure out, okay, what can we do? Because again, that's also something that is kind of a barrier in childcare, is our high turnover rate. You know, because I feel like it's the easy job for people to get into, and it shouldn't be, because it's our babies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's an important job, you know. And so I think that people kind of go into it, and then that high turnover rate is frowned upon. And so I think it says a lot about a center when you're able to retain your teachers, because the parents are looking like, okay, they must be doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on this show. Our listeners are
Yeah.
probably going, "Yeah, Erica knows." Talk about it all the time. Um, can I ask you how big is your center? How many kids are you licensed for?
We're licensed for 20.
Okay.
So we're a small child care center, but we're always at capacity.
Yeah.
So we moved from Mableton, um, to get to a bigger center in Austell. And so it was a whole thing with the fire marshals. We already had the fire alarm put in, and then they wanted us to put in a sprinkler system for upstairs. So we don't utilize upstairs for the kids. We use
Mhm.
that for our staff. So we are licensed. We could be licensed for more. The fire marshal says it's more, but of course we want to stay within the regulations
Sure.
for that. So we are looking to move into a bigger center where we can have at least 50 to 75.
Mhm.
So we're in the process of that now. We did find a building, so stay tuned for that.
Congratulations.
I'm sure I'll be very stressed about that whole process, as you know,
Mhm.
because both of our centers were not child care centers before. We made both of them
Mhm.
into child care centers. So that looks a lot different
Mhm.
from transitioning to a child care center, you know, that's already one. That's easy,
I've
you
done
know.
all the things, honey. I've done all the things.
Exactly.
I've
You
done a
know.
turnkey. I've built them from scratch. Yeah, I know all the things. Yeah, and they are very different. I always tell folks the number one tip, if I had to look back as a childcare owner, I would say find a turnkey with plumbing. Plumbing already installed, girl.
I mean,
That will save you so much money, so much time.
as
Find
a
a building.
restroom.
Yeah, there's a lot of daycares for sale. Find one of those. That would be where I would start. But
And you know what? It's funny you say that, because the building that we found, it was not a child care center before, but it had a lot of acres that we could build
mhm,
and expand. But then when I thought about it, I'm looking and I'm like, do I want to go through this stress again and hassle? You know, so
mm,
I'm like, I went back and I was like, I went to my business coach. I'm like, you know what? Let's keep looking. Let's find one that's already child care center,
yeah.
because I don't want to get any more gray hair.
Yeah, plumbing is like gold. Fireboxes are like diamonds.
Yes,
So,
seriously.
so sorry. I know I took us off topic, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
But what's
good.
the Let's see. What advice do you have for directors that are navigating staff turnover and team resistance? So you said you're really great
Yes,
at like retaining your staff. So what are a couple tips that you can leave for the new folks trying to figure
yes.
that part out?
And I talk about that in my guide as well. Um, you have to show appreciation. I think that's the first thing. If your staff feels like they're not appreciated, then they feel like, okay, if I leave, then they won't care. You don't ever want your staff to feel like that. So how do you show appreciation to your staff? It's simple. It's the end of the year. We just gave our staff end of the year bonuses. Why? Because we want them to know that we appreciate what they did for the entire school year. We randomly will just purchase lunch and breakfast. We always have team outings and team building. And just little things like that, birthday celebrations, Christmas, always doing something nice. We take them out to dinner, and then they always have a card with, again, some money, because I know money puts a smile on everyone's face.
It's always the right size.
Yes, it's always perfect.
Yeah, it's never
And so,
never regifted.
yeah, never regifted, right? You can't regift money. But yeah, I think those are the type of things. That's the biggest thing. Showing appreciation. Let them know that there's room for growth. Because again, childcare may be looked at as like a stepping stone to get to your actual career. But if you really sit down with them, they're on day one, and say, hey, what's your 1 to 5 year, career plan? And so then they think, oh, I haven't thought about it. Like, hey, do you want to maybe be like an office manager? Would you like to be assistant director? What does that look like for you? I think that gives them some ease to say, hey, I have the opportunity to actually grow with this company, especially if it's a company that you really enjoy. You love the teachers and the staff. I think that's awesome. So I think those are just a few of the things that you can do to retain your staff. And then always let them know that they're valued. And again, that communication piece. They need to be able to express themselves and not just say they're not going to listen. They don't care what goes on in my classroom because they're not in a classroom. We do care because it's your classroom. You're with these kids every day and have to deal with the parents, So I think also letting them know that you respect and value their feedback, and that you will go ahead and implement whatever it is that they're suggesting is also just a plus.
Yeah. I agree with all of those statements. I think the big one is staying connected to them and
Yeah.
and making sure that they have room to grow, right? And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's not even that big leap, because that's a big leap. Like, you're just starting,
Yeah.
and in 5 years you want to be, assistant director or director. But it's
Right.
all those incrementals, like after they've been
Yeah.
there a year, like, hey, let me teach you how to do tours. You can become a tour
Mm-hmm.
specialist, right? And then maybe, the next year maybe is, I'm going to show you how to help with the food program or CCAP,
Exactly.
right? And just give them like
Mm-hmm.
all of these little things. And then that also sets you up for success as an owner
Hello.
on top of it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Scale the business and not have to be there in the day to
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You have people that you can trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your mantra or leadership philosophy when things get tough? Because we know that they will.
Woo. So in my book, I have Miss Tish rules. I would say my motto, this is something I live by: find a way or make one. And so for me, that looks like anything. I feel like if it's just me and my center, we gonna make it. Right. And so you have to really be your biggest advocate for your child care center, because it's your baby.
Mhm.
And so I had to learn that the hard way after, letting go some teachers, figuring out that, hey, it's not, every center is not going to be the right fit for everyone. And who determines that? You need to determine that. We know and we see the signs. Don't wait until something happens and it blows up in your face.
Yeah.
If it's not the right fit, it's okay. Whether it's a teacher, a parent, or a student. You can love a student, but then the parent, always is causing trouble and mess and drama. Unfortunately, the student and the parent are going to have to go because they become a liability.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big one. Your center is not going to be the right fit for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think too, it's hard because a lot of times we love the child, and it's not the child that is the issue, but it's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, the adults connected. I
Absolutely.
sometimes tell parents too on a tour, and they usually laugh. But when I'm going through the process of how you could be terminated, and I usually leave
Yeah.
with this joke, and it's funny because they laugh, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I'll usually say, I haven't really met too many kids I don't like, but adults most definitely. And they always
Yeah.
laugh, and I'm thinking it's very true, right? I love
Yeah.
the kids. They sit on my heart really, really quick. So let's be honest, right? How many times did you think about quitting that first year? Maybe even before 10 a.m. Did you ever think about quitting the first year?
For sure. Yeah. I would say how many times?
Did we
Right.
lose track, right?
My husband had to talk me off the ledge a few times, like just go on a lunch, just leave and just come
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where you're so passionate about it, and so your feelings can get hurt really quick when it's just like it's your baby, you
Mm-hmm.
know. When parenthood, they say once you survive that first year, then you made it. I feel like it's the same thing in childcare, being a director or owner,
Yeah.
because it's your baby. And so, of course, when someone hurts it or is trying to,
Mm-hmm.
tarnish your brand or anything like that, you want to be ready to fight and protect it. And then sometimes the things that they can say are hurtful. And like you said,
Oh,
it'll make you cry. And it kind of makes you put some doubt in your mind, like, wow, okay, let me think.
yeah.
Am I doing the right thing? Or what can I do better? But at the end of the day, this is with anything. If childcare is your calling and it's something that God placed on your heart, then you're going to be successful. You have to continue to work at it every day, continue to grow and learn. Me and my staff just came back from a Elevating Early Literacy Summit in Atlanta on a Saturday. We spent our entire day there. And you need things like that keeps you motivated and it gets you back geared up. Like, okay, I'm ready to take all this information, into my center and provide it to the parents and students. Because sometimes we can get into the day-to-day operations and it's like, okay, you need something new, And so I just love that. But like I said, you'll be successful as long as it's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit into your book. So, which chapter should every new director read twice? Maybe highlight, underline, frame it on the wall.
Let's see. Honestly, one of them is going to be You Must Have Faith, because I actually didn't have this chapter in my book initially. It took me 4 years to finally put it out. And I feel like it happened for a reason, because something in my life really added 5 chapters into this book. And when it goes to You Must Have Faith, my pastor spoke on something and I was like, I have to put that in my book. So like we were saying, you feel like giving up sometimes. But you must have faith and you must believe that, again, this is what you're supposed to be doing. So I would definitely say that one. And give yourself grace is another chapter. Give yourself grace, because we wear so many hats as directors that sometimes we don't know if we're coming or going, right? My calendar is my best friend, because we're just doing so much. Like you said, food program, registration, tours, the list just goes on and on. You could be doing pickup or drop off. It's just so many things that you're doing. And so you have to give yourself grace. And the reason why is because if you don't, then who will? Like in there, I asked, how many times have you given someone grace? How many times has someone given you grace? Okay, so why not give yourself that same grace?
Yeah. Let's talk about managing staff dynamics. Like
Okay.
what's your go-to move when the drama hits and you're stuck in the middle? Because when women all work together, there's a lot of drama that happens. Yes, yes.
Yes. Luckily, it's only happened to me like something major like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? How do I address it? We're gonna sit down. We're gonna be adults, and we're gonna again communicate. Because let's tell the truth. There's 3 sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
Story. your side, their side, and the truth. And so we have to get down to what the real problem is, right? Is it something personal or is it really work related?
Yeah.
Keep the drama at the door. If it does not pertain to this child care center, please don't bring it in here.
Yeah.
Because that's not why we're here. We're here to provide a service, a very good service. And it's unfair and unjust for you to bring anything that's outside of this center that doesn't pertain to us to these students, right? Because they don't understand. So you always want to make sure that you sit down and communicate and then be open-minded. You know, don't be biased. It doesn't matter if Miss T has been there for 10 years, you know, and Miss Andrea has been there for 6 months. You still have to be open and listen to both sides of the story. Because I feel like for us, because we've been there with some of our teachers for a long time and we have those relationships and rapport, that of course, naturally you want to take their side because that's my friend and, you know, I believe her. But sometimes your friend, you know, might not like the new teacher. You know, she might be like, oh, she's trying to steal my favorite student, you know, whatever the case may be. And so just really, again, communicate. And again, that's where setting that tone and those expectations and having them systems in place to know, hey, what you are and what you're not going to allow to happen in your child care center.
Yeah. So the reason I asked this question is I have to be honest. So I've had a lot of staff with me for a very long time. I'm really good at retention, but
Okay.
there is a downside to that because
Yeah,
sometimes when you have staff that have been there a long time,
for sure.
they think the laws do not apply to them.
Yes,
And they start
absolutely.
to get a little, not all of them, but sometimes they can get a little complacent or think that, you know, it doesn't apply to them. And I had to just let somebody go that had been with me a very long time the other day. And it's hard, but you know, you have the policies, you do all the things to save people, but at the end of the day, um, it just takes one or two people to really kill the vibe in your place, and
Yeah,
you have to put, like you said, the business is your baby. You have to make sure
yeah,
you make those decisions because it isn't always the parent who's a thorn. It could be somebody you
absolutely.
love. It could be somebody that you really love, that you really respect, that you've had a long time together. But sometimes it's
Mhm.
time for folks to move on. And that is a very hard one. That's a really hard one.
Yeah.
So tell us about a what the blank just happened moment that taught you a big lesson as a boss.
um, that actually is more recent than you would think, actually. Um, a lesson as a boss that it taught me, I won't go into detail because
Hmm.
it's kind of new.
Sure.
Uh, but it taught me that God's timing is always right because I was in the process of making a really big decision with the business. And when that happened, it automatically stopped me in my tracks. And I feel like that was the best decision because of where me and that person was. I feel like it could have negatively impacted the business in
Hmm.
a major way and financially the biggest way. So I'm just grateful that it happened. I was extremely hurt. Like I cried. Um, and it shifted the relationship between me and that person where we had a personal relationship and now I just keep it business.
Yeah.
Because when someone shows you their true colors, you have to believe it. And for me, for something like that, it only takes one time, especially when you've had a relationship with a person, like you said, for so many years and you kind of have to break ties. But in my case, I can't break ties, but I can adjust that
Hmm.
relationship. And so that's what I had to do. But it's hurtful. It's surprising. It's like a slap in the face when something like that happens. And I just hate that that happens, right? In
Yeah.
life, you don't expect it. And you can tell in my tone, I'm still hurt from it.
Yeah. No, I get it. You know,
um,
and that's why
yeah,
I shared my story too, because I don't want folks that are listening to this podcast, like I want you guys to know, like nobody has it all figured out. And
never.
you could be the best director, the best owner, the best, you know, any teacher.
Yeah,
Things are going to happen. We're talking about, this is a people business,
yeah,
relationship based, heart
hmm
centered. things are going
Yes.
to happen. Things will happen. And you have
Mm-hmm.
to understand that it's going to happen to you. Maybe it didn't happen this
It is.
week, but as a new
Yeah.
director, eventually
Mhm.
it's going to happen. It's going to happen from a parent you don't expect, an employee you don't
Exactly.
expect, a family member you don't expect. It's going to
Yes.
happen. And you have to be able to stay true to yourself, stay to your
Yes.
policies, keep your convictions, treat, of course, everybody with love and respect. But like you said, you
Yes.
got to make sometimes adjustments in a relationship. And
Yeah.
and and so these are things that you will learn in your first
Hmm.
year pretty quickly. And unfortunately, I hate to
Absolutely.
say that there will be things that you will continue to learn until the day you retire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Until the day you retire. And I think that's a good thing because you want to always continue to learn, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't want to become stagnant, like I said, going through the everyday motions because then that takes the fun out of it.
Hmm.
It's fun when you learn new things from other seasoned people or even someone new who might have a new idea and you're like, wow, I never thought about that. It's fun to implement it, especially when you see the smile on your students' faces and the parents are like, wow, I really love that. It could be something as easy as a craft or something as a parent night. It can really vary.
Yeah. So, is there any sections in your book where you talk about or mention burnout or red flags or how you climb out of that hole?
It's at the chapter is actually called Tired Yet. And so that's after you decide why childcare. If you want to be a director or owner or both. Like I don't are you a owner? You're an owner and director, right?
Hmm.
Like myself. Exactly. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
understand. And then after going through that licensing application, finding the perfect location, that alone, then I go into, are you tired yet?
Hmm.
Of course, you're exhausted. And unfortunately for me, and I just told my business partner, I'm like, I don't want to keep working 10, 11, and 12-hour days. Like, what are we doing here? Like we have to figure this out. We have to start scaling the business,
Hmm.
because in childcare, Erica, again, we wear too many hats and you're exhausted when you get home. And if you're like myself, a mother and a wife,
Hmm.
do you then have to go home to your children and
Hmm.
make sure their homework is done, make sure they're cleaned up and fed, and so it's a lot. So yes, they're going to be tired,
Yeah.
but that's why, again, you have to have a strong team behind you,
Hmm.
those systems in place, and that's definitely going to help take some of the load off.
Mm. And do the other thing. You know what, too? Um, not only delegating things, but keep the things you love and get rid of the stuff you don't love. Because
That,
I don't really love the paper part, but I love the people part.
yeah.
Like I will sit in one-on-ones with staff. I will go in their room. I will hop in your room. You need a break? I will read a book to the kids. I
Yeah.
love to hang out with the kids. Sometimes when I'm aggravated in the office, I'm like, "Where's the play? I'm going to the playground. You can file them papers. You can answer them emails. I'm out. I'm going to go hang out with kids, blow some bubbles, play with some Play-Doh. That
Yeah,
the kids are the reason I come back. Like the paperwork is like to me boring, 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 boring.
exactly.
Necessary
Yes.
but boring. I do not find joy in it. I have some folks that love to make spreadsheets and they love accounting and they
Right.
love all that. To me, that's like minutia. I'm like a big picture person. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love chaos. I make my own chaos. Like let's open up another center. Let's do this. Let's do price search. Let's do, let's open up a state funded pre-K. Let's do all the things. That's me.
Yeah.
And my team will go like, okay, slow down. How are we gonna do it? I don't know.
Right.
Figure it out. But we're doing it.
Figure it out.
Um, yeah. So as we start to wrap up, let me ask you, maybe what's one boundary that every new director must set from day one, no matter how awkward it might feel?
One boundary. Like I was saying earlier, keep the personal at home and do not bring it into that child care center. Because as hard as we try to hide our emotions on our face, we can't.
Yeah.
And as hard as we may think that text message may not be rude, it is. So definitely try to keep the two separate, your personal and your business, because My parents don't know what I do outside of my child care center. You know, they know Miss Tish, and that's good. They don't know what I do. They don't know anything. You know, if I go out, if I smoke, if I drink, any of that. So keep that personal separate from your business, because if you don't, they can definitely use it against you,
Mhm.
and it's definitely going to harm you. That would be my biggest thing.
Okay. For me, I feel like I need the first 20 minutes of my morning. So my
Mhm.
boundary is let me put my coat down. Let me right, but you walk in the door, your bag's in your hand,
Kids
your
running
coat's on,
finger.
coffee's in your hand, and like,
Mhm.
oh, Johnny's mom wants it. I need the first 20 minutes of my day. That helps set my tone, go in my office, take off my things, let me figure out
Mhm.
who is out, what needs to be addressed. Is there anything from last
Yeah,
night that's an emergency? Like, I need to have that system in place. And then
yeah,
after that 20 minutes, I'm like, I'm all yours. Give me all your flyers and let's
yeah.
let's let's burn through them really quick. Um, how do you stay grounded when everything around you is like straight up chaos? Like on those days, those days.
I have to pray. Luckily, my business partner and I are very God fearing women, and sometimes she'll get me together. She'll be like, "Mm-mm." And my husband is worse than her. My husband, he can hear it in my voice. What's wrong with you? And so I think a lot of times my husband definitely keeps me grounded. He will check me very quickly, and he tells me when I'm wrong. And so I'm working on that now, and I have to bite my tongue sometimes, and it kills me, because I always want to say what I think. And, you know, even with our parents, especially the parents, like you said, it's never the kids, it's always the parents. And so our listeners, y'all will understand, y'all know. But yeah, I think just I have to pray sometimes, because they can really take you there.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
We have been married. We just celebrated 9 years. We've
Nice.
been together for 16.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So my husband and I, tomorrow is our 21st wedding anniversary. And
Wow.
see, thanks.
Congratulations.
And so he has come to a point where he knows he'll just look at me. He won't ask me about the day. He would like to ask me about the day. Sometimes he'll
Hmm.
ask me about the day and I'll look at him and he goes, okay, would you like me to light you a fire? Is there anything else you need? He already knows, don't,
Yeah.
because I don't want to rehash it. So he's been very good about knowing, do you want to talk about it? Or he'll look at me and goes, you don't want to talk about it? That's okay. What do you
Yeah.
need? What do you need from me? How can I help you?
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
so I want to do something really fun that I've never done before on this show.
Okay.
So you seem like you would be fun and great game for this. So I want to do
Yeah.
a quick fire, 1 minute or less answer to these questions. Okay,
Okay.
ready? I got 5 of them. Worst piece of
Mhm.
advice you ever got
In childcare or life?
in life?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll go to the next one.
What?
I'll go to the next one.
Uh,
These are quick fire. Most
Okay.
most underrated childcare boss superpower that you possess.
Flying.
Did you say flying?
I'm sorry. I said flying. What?
The most underrated childcare boss superpower. What is your superpower as a childcare boss?
um, Retention.
Okay. If you could write a second book, what would the title be?
I don't
She's
know.
she said, Erica,
I'm not good.
you did not prepare me for this.
Look, I'm like, hold on. Okay. What would the title of the book be? Screw it. Let's have
All
fun.
right, I love it. What's your pep talk for the boss who's one meltdown away from quitting?
Let's go have a drink.
Okay. Finish.
We'll talk about it there.
Let's talk about it. Let's drink about it.
Mhm.
Let's sleep on it. You'll feel different
Yeah.
tomorrow. All
Yeah.
right.
You'll feel
Finish this sentence. One thing no one tells you about being a childcare boss is fill in the blank.
What? Wow. How many boxes of Kleenex you go through in one day?
I love it.
Oh my
I
gosh.
love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being such a great guest.
Thank you.
I have some closing thoughts. Being a new
Yeah,
director isn't about knowing everything. It's about
exactly.
being willing to learn, willing to
Hmm.
lead, and grow. Give yourself permission to not be perfect. We had a lot of fun here today on our episode. Never
Yes.
stop being in your purpose. Every
Yeah.
challenge is a chance to step up and be the leader that you are becoming. Own your
Mhm.
space, lead with heart, and don't forget you've got this. Can you please tell
Yeah.
folks where they can get your book?
Absolutely. My book is on Amazon, Surviving Your First Year as a Childcare Boss. And you can also purchase it from me directly. Latisha Corley or Tish Blessed and Happy, Prepping for Excellence Academy. So hit me up. Once this comes out, I'll be able to add myself. And yeah, definitely support. It also has places in here where you can write notes. We talk about goals, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years. So you can actually write in the book. So don't regift it, keep it. And I definitely know that you need it because I wish I had something like that when I was starting my childcare center.
Yeah. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen, a little more ready to go, then rate our podcast, The Childcare Director's Chair, on your favorite listening platform. Your review really does help directors find us and join the conversation. As always, thank you so much. I'm humbly grateful that you were here today. Thank you so much. Have a great day
Thank you.
tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
You did great.